Hello, this is Taha.
This is Anaina,
This is Movie Masala.
and we're here to yap at you about films we watched recently.
And today we're doing
Bride.
Hasn't your mum called you up? Switched out my sim before we left. But don't read them, it's only going to make you feel worse. Do you think they'll call the police? Who's going to give a shit about two brown girls?
So, Brides is a new 2025 film directed by Nadia Fall and written by Suhayla El-Bushra. It released in the UK, I think, on the 25th of September, but had its kind of premiere at Sundance earlier in January. And essentially, it's kind of based off of true events in the sense that it is about these two young girls who are British but from kind of immigrant backgrounds who run away from their homes in Britain to go to Syria to be child brides.
this either sounds like a very dramatic art house film or like a very stupid 2000s comedy.
Right? And it's neither. It's
Okay.
not at all funny and it's not at all art house. It is utterly serious. And that's because it's loosely based off of the story of Shamima Begum.
Okay.
If anyone remembers her, it was basically she was a teenager from London who traveled secretly to Syria to become an IS bride around 10 years ago. So basically, this film takes its inspiration from that particular incident, but then goes with a very different approach to it because girls like Shamima Begum were and are continue to be extremely kind of vilified and also like propped up as this board for some kind of hatred or Islamophobia. When in fact, the reason why they kind of took the actions that they took was Islamophobia.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what this film explores. It explores the cause behind why someone, especially young girls, would take such a drastic decision.
They just
Right.
become an example or like a case study everyone uses without necessarily understanding why it happened. Either side uses, very honestly, in my opinion, without understanding the consequences as well as the reasoning of why those things happened in the first place.
Exactly. So this film is based largely on the reasons why they would do that. So it basically focuses on these two girls, Ebada Hassan, who plays Do or Firdosa, who is of Somali heritage. She came over with her parents when she was around 2 or 3. And Safia Ingar, who plays Muna, who is of Pakistani heritage. And they're both kind of distinctly shown to be Muslim.
Safia Ingar, who was also in Layla, another film that you really enjoyed last year.
Yeah, exactly. And like I kept watching the film and I was like, I recognize her, I recognize her. And then I was like, okay, yeah, no, well, I've seen her. Anyway, Safia goes by they them pronouns.
Okay.
Yeah, and Muna and Do are distinctly shown to be Muslim and experiencing Islamophobic hate in this rural seaside town in, I think, either Wales or England that they live in. It's not really specified.
Okay.
Basically, the film follows them leaving their house, getting to Istanbul, where they're meant to kind of meet this carrier or whatever who will take them to Syria. But then things go wrong when the carrier or whatever doesn't show up. And they have to initially decide whether they're going to go ahead with this or not. And then, spoiler, when they do, it kind of devolves into this journey or kind of chase or run up to them getting there through Turkey. And it's kind of, they have a bunch of encounters with these Turkish people throughout this landscape, while kind of mixing it with flashbacks from their life in England. And the kind of back and forth between the present as they are trying to kind of achieve their goal by any means possible to get to Syria versus why they left, kind of not telling it one after the other, but kind of going back and forth, makes each decision or each part of their life not nuanced, but just like it's meant to make you feel empathetic towards them.
Yeah, the point is not necessarily to say that this is right or wrong or like give you a morality judgment, but to help you make these people feel very human and understand like these are human reactions.
Exactly. So I think when you see scenes of them in England, basically in their town through the flashbacks, you see so much hatred. You see so much kind of Islamophobia coming from young kids, kids their age while they're in school. And in also certain instances, like in the case of Doe, where her mother, who she, doesn't hate, she loves her mother, but her
Mm-hmm.
mother is married to a white Englishman who is abusive. And that
Okay.
kind of builds up a lot of resentment and rage in her, which is shown to be kind of eventually one of the reasons why she leaves. Not the reason, but one of the reasons why she leaves. And then in the case of Muna, how her family is kind of really passive and even abusive towards her, like directly abusive towards her when she kind of breaks their expectations or doesn't live up to the standard they hold for her, which is again framed as one of the reasons why she leaves. And then you see instances of them in Turkey where they miss like their bus that they're meant to take to get to the border with Syria. And the woman who sold them the tickets takes them to her home, makes her family meet them, feeds them, gives them a room. And then as soon as she figures out that why they're there, basically they've
Yeah.
lied to her, right? Why they're there, she becomes immediately concerned for them and calls the police on them out of like anything. And then there's an instance where they kind of hitchhike with a father with his two daughters because of his two daughters they see a kind of trust in him.
Yeah.
And there's these really nice moments of like heartfulness. You don't feel sorry for them, you don't feel angry at them, you just sit there going, these are two young girls and they're experiencing life in such a different way to what you would imagine.
Yeah, I feel that harkens back to this idea of like they're children. At the end of the day, yeah, even if they've made what might be thought of as like a bad decision or like an uninformed decision, teenagers do that all the time, right? This was a very specific circumstances and sequences of events that led to those bad decisions dominoing out to something as drastic as this. But teenagers make bad decisions all the time. It is part of growing up.
100%. And I don't think this film necessarily frames their like decision to go to Syria as a bad decision,
Hmm.
because it also kind of intersperses the main two kind of narrative plot lines with images from Syria. So
Okay.
this film, I should have said this before, is set in 2014 when Syria was at the height of its kind of war and revolutionary moments and stuff. And it just recently, if anyone remembers, came out of that. Right.
Yeah. This was after the Arab Spring happened.
Yeah. Way after.
Yeah.
Like not way after, but like after.
2 years after the Arab Spring protest, like kind of officially ended.
Exactly. So Syria is also not like this stable land, but it is shown to be presented as this place where Muslim women can be Muslim without persecution or without hatred. Which,
Yeah.
honestly, why wouldn't you take up? The nuance comes to the fact when you see images of war-torn Syria, of, Syrian children being bombed. And then you immediately go back to the kind of revolutionary women or women who were kind of in the Syrian resistance movement.
Yeah.
And then it also has kind of shots or scenes from far-right rallies in the UK and Nigel Farage spewing his rhetoric. And when you see that, you could think that this could have been yesterday. Those sequences that we're seeing of the UK, like spewing its hatred, could have been like last week. And
Yeah.
she's talking about it in 2014. But the film is, made in 2025. So I think she shows like Nadia Fall, she shows a lot of kind of nuance and never frames any decision of the girls as bad necessarily, but just
Mhm.
maybe kind of in the moment, like stealing the wallet of the woman who helped them as in the moment, like a reckless in the moment spur of a decision.
Like a
where
teenage
the
decision.
core of what they did, exactly, the core of what they did was wrong. But why they did it to kind of get to their goal, you can understand.
Okay, so I feel it becomes a really good understanding of like these two people in their stages of life as well, and them together,
Yeah.
understanding the global socio-politics, particularly around Islam, and how these two people
Yeah,
navigate that, and then also using that whole like narrative point of like
for sure.
this like something very much heartfelt.
Yeah. And like you were saying, at the end of the day, it's about these girls, right? And it really pushes that through that message by focusing on their friendship and their relationship to each other, which, faces its cracks, faces a lot of moments are like they're going to like fall apart or something. But they never do. They stick to each other. And I think the final message of the film, I think, is not about any of the social political circumstances or whatever. It's about the strength and power of young female friendships.
Aw.
Yeah, which is really, really wholesome because it again brings you back to empathy and a kind of understanding that we should or could have for the girls and women who put themselves under these circumstances and perhaps even continue to. So I think overall, yeah, it was a great film. I do not think this film should be watched by everyone though, because the current UK political climate, no, if you don't have critical thinking and can't use your brain cells, don't watch this film. But if you do want to watch a film that at its core is really nuanced and about very basic empathy, go watch this film. It is in theaters right now.
And you are okay mentally challenge yourself, actually questioning certain things and investigating opinions. Yeah.
Exactly.
So those were our thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. This podcast is produced solely by us with musical assets from Pixabay. If you enjoyed this, please do share it. See you again next time.
Bye-bye.